Hello, everyone, and good morning. Welcome to our live feed update for August 11th. I'm your host, Taran Armstrong, and with me today is Mary. How you doing, Mary?
I'm doing well. I'm a little bummed because I do, in fact, have a chicken costume. Actually, I think it's a turkey costume that I almost wore today, but I think I left it at my parents' house, so I couldn't wear it. But it was going to be great. It's a way more high quality than Sis's, and since it was homemade, it's I'd say it's even better for a punishment costume because you can't really sit down in it to keep the tail feathers up, but
That would be better.
would have been nice. I
You,
could have done a standing podcast like you.
yeah, it's true. You also, you could just act like a chicken and cook me eggs.
Yeah, see, I have a strict no egg policy. I only eat eggs when they're made with love, so
When
I
they're
don't
made
think
with love.
yeah, like if my parents make them for me, I'm like, all right, they were made with love. Maybe I'll eat them, but I don't think I would eat eggs that sis made for me.
But what about you making eggs for other people like me?
I'm actually really good. I used to work at a place where I made omelets every morning, so
There you go.
I can do the whole thing where you have the pan and then you flip the omelet without a spatula.
Yeah.
So it's great.
All right. Well, we are here to update you on everything that happened yesterday on the Big Brother 21 live feeds. I promise the chicken stuff is relevant. It was day 53 in the house, and it was a very important day because the veto competition took place, and we'll get to that. We will. First, we need to get through the veto draw. Now, yesterday, I explained how we have Tommy as the HOH. He put up Kat and Cliff. Christy ended up being the third nominee with the field trip. And so Cliff, Christy, and Kat all on the block. Those three plus Tommy will be competing in the veto. So Tommy is going to draw 2 chips from the bag, and odds were that we were going to get one of Sis and Nick and one of somebody else, and that's what we got. Cliff was chosen, which means that he got to choose somebody to compete in the veto. Cliff chose Jackson to compete, and then Christy's chip was drawn, and Christy chose Nick to compete, not Sis. Not Sis.
Yeah.
She chose Nick, which was an interesting choice.
Yeah, she claims that she wanted Nick because he seemed the most upset when she got put on the block as a third nominee. So I guess that's one way of looking at things. She also said that he's the most athletic. So assuming that he's going to work for her, I guess that works. Nick claims that he would have used the veto if he won it on anyone who was the third nominee because that's not fair. But I don't believe that he would have saved other people necessarily.
Yeah, we know that Nick's plan was to maybe use the veto to take Cliff down and get Holly up on the block in order to ensure that Kat goes home and to win some favor with with Cliff, and then they can ensure that the votes would be there to keep Christy. However, after the veto draw, Nick is pissed at Cliff because Cliff chose Jackson to compete in the veto instead of Nick.
Yeah, and so if you get that upset because someone doesn't pick you, then I have a hard time believing that he actually would have gone through with that plan. I don't know. It's shocking to me that people get so upset about who they use for house guest choice because half the time people pick people that they think they can beat anyway. So, Nick, this is just all day. There are several times when Nick gets very upset because he's not playing the middle as well as he thinks he is. He thinks that he's playing this great middleman job. And so whenever he finds out that people maybe don't trust him as much as he thinks they should, even though he's playing both sides, he gets very upset about it.
Yeah,
So
Nick, the sketchiest man in existence, gets very annoyed when people don't trust him 100%.
oh gosh, all day, especially towards the evening, he was really, really earning that title you just gave him. Oh man.
So he's mad, and what Nick says is that because Cliff chose Jackson to compete if I win the veto, I'm taking Christy down now. That's what I'm going to do. Jackson and Holly, meanwhile, are sketched out by Christy for choosing Nick instead of Sis. They're very confused about why that happened, and they say that's the final straw. She's choosing Nick. We've been replaced by Nick, clearly. We need to vote Christy out if she stays on the block. That's what needs to happen here.
And Jackson does have a really good point that, now is a great time to get Christy out when he says, it's not by their own hand.
Yes.
They didn't have to be the one to put her on the block. And so they're still voting her out. I don't know if she would forgive them a whole lot in jury because of that. But he does have a good point that neither of them had to put her up. And this may be the only opportunity to get her out where that's the case.
Mm-hmm. So another unfortunate incident is that Cliff is going to re-injure his leg right in time for what will be OTEV, which is a physical competition. As we know, Cliff injured his leg, I believe, in the taking off your clothes veto. I think that was the one. And
look, it is very dangerous taking off your clothes very fast. Okay.
Yeah.
You can have quite the injuries coming from someone who has a lot of injuries right now. For whatever reason, my entire
for
right
taking
side.
your clothes off.
No. Well, I don't know. Actually, I have no idea how I've all of a sudden in the last couple days, my entire right side has gone numb. Like I can't really feel I tried pricking my fingers and toes yesterday. Don't really feel much. So I don't know what's going on over here.
I mean, clearly you just need to keep your clothes on, I guess. I think that's the strategy.
Right.
Cliff injured his leg in the taking your clothes off veto, and he's kind of been limping ever since. He's going to aggravate that injury once again right before the veto competition by tripping over. There's a little platform for the living room, and so he tripped over that. His sandal got caught, and he ended up breaking part of the floor there, and he's limping even more again.
Yeah, it was not great. I didn't even notice that there was that step up there until I saw this, and then that's really dangerous. I don't know why they have that in that position, especially with people walking out of the bedrooms in that area so often, maybe to at night. I just think it's dangerous.
Yeah.
You need to put we used to have a step like that, and you take a pool noodle and you sort of cut it in half and you kind of lay it on the side, so at least it's got a nice little curved bumper.
Yeah.
Could have done
something.
that.
Yeah. So the news here, unfortunately, Cliff is going to have some trouble in a physical competition. Jackson and Holly are going to speak about the veto. He is competing. So Jackson says he wants to win, and he wants to keep the nominations the same so that they can vote out Christy. Holly says, we need to be worried about Nicole, though, because Kat was telling me earlier that we shouldn't trust Nicole. She's really close with Nick. Now, if you remember, yesterday, Nicole, before her conversation with Nick, where he was like, you'd better trust me, Nicole was venting to Kat about Nick, not knowing whether or not she can trust him. Kat went to Holly with that and put some doubt into Holly's mind about Nicole because of how close Nicole is with Nick. So she's concerned about that, and she's also concerned about the fact that but maybe I shouldn't trust what Kat says, because Kat also told me that Nick hated Christy yesterday, and now Christy's choosing Nick for the veto. So maybe Kat just doesn't know what she's talking about.
Yeah, I think this actually has less to do with Kat not knowing what she's talking about and more to do with Nick being messy and doing both things.
He did hate Christy, to be fair.
Yeah, so you run into these issues when you're constantly telling everyone every bit of detail, but the details change a lot. Yeah, Nicole is an issue throughout the day of people not really knowing where she stands. And I do think there's a bit of truth to, I think she likes both the people on the block and everything, but we can talk about it later. Her gameplay, I think, is going a little bit downhill in my mind.
Yeah, she's caught in the middle a little bit, and that's going to be one of the storylines of the day. So Jackson and Sis are going to talk. Jackson asks Sis, why did Christy not pick you? Why did she pick Nick over you? And Sis says, I woke up this morning. I was really tired. And also I told Christy that if it's OTEV, not to pick me because I'm not going to know any of the answers.
Right, because Sis still doesn't seem to understand that this knowledge that she might need for this game is not like something that you need to be crazy smart for. She's living it. She's living in the Big Brother house.
Is she though?
Can't remember what's happening. Well, you know what? Yes, she is, at least physically. So she's also, but look, she's really stressed out and tired because this outfit is taking a toll on her. It's just mentally hard not being able to change clothes every few hours when she wants to.
Not being able to look as hot as possible.
I know. It's really, look, it takes a blow for the Alliance, the Hots.
Look, you don't understand. For somebody like Sis, who is so hot, for her to have to look only cute.
Right.
It's a blow. Mentally.
And it's not even like I really want to stress, it's not even like this is a awkward costume or like it doesn't take up a lot of space. It doesn't at this point require you to like stay in the same room with a spinning timer. She's not even a robot. She doesn't even have a big penis head. There's like so many benefits to this. It's fine.
Yeah. She Rob points out in the chat she can't even wear a garbage bag. How is she gonna feel at home?
I don't know.
So honestly, probably one of the smarter things she's done to tell Christy not to pick her, because I was counting her out in OTEV. I was saying there are two people that won't win OTEV, Cliff because of his injured leg, and Sis because she won't get any of the clues, and she recognized that.
Yeah, that was good. That's good. And Cliff does a lot of studying for this, I think, to overcompensate for the physical aspect. That's not going to be very good. I don't know. I mean, how much studying do you really need to do for OTEV?
A lot.
Not
a lot. They're very easy clues.
The questions are, like, remember the competition where we ate pies? Who won that? I don't think they did a competition where they ate pies. What season was that? Like season 4? No, not that. Oh my gosh.
Polly's
I mean,
pies.
A long time ago.
All right. So Jackson is talking to Sis. She says that's why they didn't pick Nick, or Christy didn't pick her, I should say. Christy picked Nick because she didn't want to be chosen herself. She's also going to talk with Jackson about, like, look, I'm no fan of Christy. And Jackson's like, look, if she stays on the block, I mean, maybe we're going to make some kind of move. She's like, I'm with you. I want to make a move. I don't like Christy. I have to pretend I like her. I have to pretend I trust her. But I have to. Like, I have no other choice. You have to understand, Jackson. I can't vote her out. Like, I can't go against Tommy. I can't. And if I go against Tommy, I have nobody. So I have to stick with Tommy. With Tommy and Christy, like, those are my numbers right now, and I can't jump ship from that.
Which is better for Sis, but it is a little funny that Jackson's like, hey, come join me and Holly. You can be with us if we vote out Christy. And she's like, yeah, but if I did that, then I'd have no one. Well, you'd have me and Holly, but I'd have no one. I'd be alone then.
Which, yeah, it's true. I mean, she has no place in that group, but,
No, yeah,
she shouldn't be saying it.
I think she just likes being in that position. Yeah, I think a lot of people in this house like like when someone wins and you get to run up to the HOH room or the storage room and celebrate with that little group. Once you've done that, hard to go back and betray those people.
It's true.
Very serious.
Yeah. She also is going to have a conversation with Holly where she's trying to get Holly to come on board with them. Holly's also going to be like, nah, not cool with that. Not cool with Christy. Tommy talks with Jess. Now there's a big lull in the day before the veto competition, and one of those lulls is Tommy talking to Jess. It was very reminiscent of Christy talking to Jess. It lasted for hours. At least it felt like. I'm pretty sure it actually did, but who knows? And I mean, I've said this before. It's just so hard to try to concentrate on these conversations. There's just something about them. at some point I need to transcribe how Jess talks, because she just talks in generalities like all the time, and I never know what she's saying. Like a good 80% of the time I don't know what she's saying.
Yeah, she doesn't like specifics, and she likes to say things. Yeah, I'm trying to think of like an example of a way to state it. She, instead of saying, yeah, like, I want to work with you, or I want to do this, or here is exactly what happens, we're like, oh, well, I'm not only about girl power, and I don't know why people only think that. And then there's, I didn't start the Black Widows. I couldn't give you names of exactly who did or what happens.
That's too
But
specific.
yeah, that's even too specific.
My thing is that I feel like people play this game in a way that is sometimes a little, and so that's sort of how I feel about these sorts of situations, and just that a lot.
Yeah. Which, if you can imagine, is hard for people to respond to in any kind of useful way as well. But Jess, she really likes to talk in circles. I think, to give her the most credit, I think that it could be just a desperate attempt to not be one of the people who's spilling every bit of information at all times. And she likes to kind of be generally good with people. But she's not. It doesn't count as a game talk if you don't actually talk any real game.
All right. Well, there are some points of interest throughout this conversation, mostly coming from Tommy here. Tommy is talking about why he put Kat on the block. He says that Kat is working with everyone. She is in good with everyone. She has working relationships with every single person in the house. Think about it. She has a working relationship with you, Jess. She has one with Nicole and Cliff. She has a very good working relationship with Holly and Jackson. She has a working relationship with me and Christy and Sis, and one with Nick. She literally is working with every single person in the house. I felt like it was only fair to put her on the block. Jess says, you know what? I get that. I understand. I've noticed Kat doing some shady things before. Don't think that has gone unnoticed by me. That, really the point of this conversation is that Jess is continuing to bond with Tommy and Christy, and I think she's starting to drift even more in that direction. I would not be surprised if by next week she is working with them, especially if Kat goes. So something to watch out for there. Tommy also does ask Jess about the all women's alliance. She's No, people keep thinking that. It doesn't exist. Those don't work. I learned that. And you know what, Tommy? If it did exist, you would be a part of it, because we don't see you as one of the guys. And Tommy's like, I love that. Oh, my God, I love that. Oh, that's so great. I'm so obsessed with you.
I want a smash cut of all of the people that Tommy's obsessed with.
Literally everyone all the time.
Remember how Christy hates everyone all the time and Tommy's obsessed with everyone all the time? Maybe that's why they balance each other out.
Yeah.
It works well.
Tommy doesn't only say he's obsessed with people to their faces. He also talks behind their back about how he's obsessed with them. That's how obsessed he is with them.
Yeah. So obsessed with everyone. Oh, gosh.
Oh,
yeah.
man.
Yeah. I mean, Jess still doesn't understand that people think she's all about the girls because she said that she's all about the girls and she'll only vote for a girl and she won't put any guys up. And hard to backtrack that now, especially after her HOH.
She is denying it, though. She's, oh, no, I wouldn't do that. I'm not going to vote for a girl just because she's a girl. No, definitely not.
I mean, I'd vote for Tommy because he's,
You're not
a girl.
Yeah, you're theoretically one of us, Tommy.
Right.
I love that.
I'm obsessed with you. Yeah.
Yes.
So that's great.
Yeah. Cliff is going to spend some time in the kitchen studying the memory wall. And he is going to be studying for a potential OTEV question competition, whatever it's going to be. He is just going to be, head down, studying, and then he starts to pump himself up. I'm gonna win this one. This is my veto. He has his own Scott Dennis moment.
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't talk about the BB streets. He should have, but he does talk. I've got this. I'm down here, head down, studying. They're upstairs, socializing, whatever. That's not what I'm doing. This is my veto. This is my time. I've got this. I care more than they do. My head is in this game. I've got this. I'm studying. And so he's like really into it, but he's a little bit like when you were in school and you sat down to study, but you hate studying, and so you're like, man, look at me, I'm doing the work, I'm studying, and here we go, doing some studying. Okay, here. Man, look at me studying. I'm definitely studying. Let's check some internet. Let's talk to some friends. Let's think about some other things. Man, look at me studying. Like, he spent a lot of time talking to the cameras and not actually studying.
If he had paper and pen in that house, he would have written himself a to-do list. Step 1.
Yes.
Sit down in front of the memory wall. All right, did that. Step 2. Talk to America about how I'm studying. All right, I did that. Step 3. Pump yourself up about how much you're studying. All right, I did that. Step 4, look at the memory wall. All right, step 5, call yourself El Cucaracha. All right, did that.
Step
Checking
6.
a lot of things off the list.
Shout out RHAP and Whataburger.
Cliff being Cliff, it's good times.
Yes.
But,
Step 7. Step 7. Do some dances. Got to warm up the body. All right, we're dancing. I'm dancing to the cameras. All right, we're doing a dance. Okay, dance time. Hey guys, I'm in the Big Brother house. Just enjoying my time in the Big Brother house, Life is good. You got to keep things in perspective. I love my family. I hope you guys love your families. Just you gotta be grateful for what you have. Not grateful, thankful. Let's not be grateful. You just gotta dance. You just gotta be happy. No matter what happens in this house, there are people that are much worse off, and you gotta be conscious of that. And I'm playing Big Brother. I'm gonna enjoy my time here. No matter how bad things get, they're not really that bad. You gotta be thankful for the love that you have, and I'm thankful for my family and the love they've shown me. And all right, everyone, ready? We're gonna dance. Let's do the dance.
Wow, this is going on for a while.
It went on for a while.
Yeah. Step 8, pitch your resume.
Yeah. Man, sucks that I lost my job. If any future employees want to employ me, here are my qualifications.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, it's total study procrastination.
It was great. And I'm okay with this because, again, sorry to Rockstar, but OTEV is not supposed to be like a major mental competition.
Yeah. There's also a great moment where he's talking under his breath, and he's like, all right, I've got this. America, I hope that you sent those people on the field trip because you don't like them, because I'm with you. They're not great. Sis, what has she done? What is her purpose? Christy, whatever. And then Christy walks down, and he's like, oh, hey, Christy, how's it going? Oh, hey, Cliff, how's it going? She walks by. I care about this game more than her. I care. I'm more dedicated than these people. I am more. Hey, Christy, going back upstairs? Yeah. Yes, I am going to win this.
It's the Cliff equivalent of Christy walking by and him just going, douche.
I really want that to be in the episode with like dramatic music and then like dancey music and then dramatic music again.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so that was happening.
Yeah. Nicole also comes and chills with Cliff for a little while, and Cliff talks to her a little bit about how he doesn't know where Nick stands, and he's not 100% sure about this, which is something else that Cliff has talked with Holly and Jackson about, that they're sketched out by Nick King, sketchiest guy in the world. But yeah, I'm glad that they're talking to Nicole about this, because she does have that relationship. And I've been just spending all day every time she comes on the screen trying to figure out exactly where her head is at because she's not doing a great job reassuring either side.
Mm, yeah. They do study together, though, and Nicole seems to know her stuff.
Mhm.
So,
It's promising.
yeah.
Yeah.
So then we get to the veto competition. Or no, sorry, one more conversation. Christy and Nicole have a conversation as well. Nicole still continuing to investigate what happened during Holly's HOH. Very important. And Christy is confirming once again, yes, Holly did want to put you on the block. I did not want you to go on the block. Me and Tommy were really working hard to keep you safe during those weeks. And so they have a conversation about that.
Yeah. Yeah. It's pretty quick. You know, Nicole is still trying to figure out, I think, some of the truth or what is the truth since both sides have said that they've been the ones to protect her throughout this game. And she's saying, yeah, but I have a gut feeling of who I think is telling me the truth, but it's difficult when both sides are telling me that they fought to keep me from going up multiple times. So it's it's once again coming from this whole issue of when they saved Nicole but didn't tell her about it. I really think that if some people had not even if it wasn't the whole alliance, if it was just part of the alliance had come to Nicole earlier in the week and said they were keeping her and built that trust earlier on, it would be easier to buy the fact that they've been saving her this whole game.
Yeah. So then we get to OTEV, and sounds like it was a pretty eventful OTEV. So I'm gonna run through this round by round because I think we have the results of each round.
Yeah.
So in the first round, thank goodness we got Jackson involved in OTEV because he can be athletic where Cliff is not. He can he's won some vetoes before. He won the take your clothes off veto. Jackson's out first.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wait, so I'm sorry. Was this a athletic competition? I'm confused. I don't understand. I think it's just the fact that, look, we've realized if he doesn't have a chance to prove how in it to win it he is by peeing on himself, maybe he can't do as good of a job. So I think that if it was like slow OTEV, like if maybe they had a huge area and they needed to be out there searching for a really long time and there was just more time for him to have to pee on himself.
Yeah.
He could have done better.
So just to be clear about this, Cliff with an injured leg did in fact beat Jackson in round 1, and Jackson and Holly are going to be like, why didn't you just give it to Jackson? Which, like, maybe, but also if you're on the block, like throwing the veto, gonna be a bit of a rough call there.
I think some of it's also a little tricky to figure out. We'll have to see exactly how close it was, but if Cliff was like way ahead of Jackson on this, I mean,
yeah.
How much faith can you have in Jackson if he gets out round 1?
Exactly. So Jackson's out round 1, and then we get to round 2. And round 2 comes down to Kat or Cliff. They're the last 2 people hunting for their piece. And things are getting intense.
It's traumatic.
Apparently, something happens that resembles Kat and Cliff trying to race back to the thing. Kat pushing Cliff down, running over him a little bit, and beating him there. And this is going to be a very dangerous shove, a very dangerous fall for Cliff. He ends up hurting his back pretty severely. His leg is again continuing to hurt, and then the worst injury was to his arm, which is going to have like a bandage over it. And he says that he can't move it. He's pretty concerned about it. When the feeds came back, he was in a lot of pain, more pain than I've seen him be in all season long. He was dropping some F-bombs like, oh, it hurts, F. And he had trouble sleeping last night. He was in so much pain. Things aren't looking great for old boy Cliff Hogg here.
Yeah, and the feeds were down for a while, and I think probably a lot of that has to do with checking Cliff out and getting him all bandaged up when they came back. It's it's not only a dramatic moment because the two were on the block, but it seems to be pretty traumatic to Kat when this is over.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Rob says this is worse than what happened to Mary.
you don't know that.
Yes, so Kat is crying when the feeds come back. It's very reminiscent of Big Meech when she hit Paul with the apple or whatever it was.
Yeah.
And so she's crying, concerned about the fact that she was the one that caused Cliff's injuries here. Cliff says, "Please don't worry about it. You were fighting for your life. We know we things got intense. It's totally fine. I understand it's not your fault. Please don't feel bad. But obviously this is a bad situation all around."
Yeah, and King of Tact Nick comes in while Kat is like crying to Christy and getting consoled. And this is probably the third person Kat has cried to in the last 20 minutes. She also cried by herself in the storage room for a while. But anyway, so she's getting consoled by Christy, or Christy's consoling her, and it's saying it's not your fault. Cliff has said it's not her fault, and then Nick comes in. It's like, oh, dude, I would have done the same shit you did. That was a sick move. Oh, that was great. Loved that. High five. And Kat's like, yeah, I'm upset about this. I feel like a monster. And he's like, oh, no. It looked great. Trust me. It's going to be great on film. I bet it's going to look sick.
Yeah,
Really helping
We'll
matters.
see. We'll see how bad this is. Sometimes these things get over dramatized in the retelling of them. Maybe it wasn't as bad as it sounds, but it does sound kind of bad.
From more and more retellings, it sounds to me more like they were both racing to get to the rope thing or whatever that you either have to climb up or swing across or something. And Kat got there first and maybe tripped, or Cliff fell, or maybe she sort of ran into him on her way there. I don't think she made a point to shove Cliff away.
There were multiple retellings of this. One where she shoved him. One where it was maybe an accident. So we'll see. We'll see. Again, sometimes people's memories can be very strange. So we'll see what happens. Ultimately, though, I think Cliff is right. It's competition, and she's got to do what she's got to do to win. Though obviously we wish that Cliff would not be quite as injured as he seems to be. So
hey, worked for some people in the past to be injured, and I mean, it's not like they were looking at him as a comp.
Not since James Ryan has somebody been so injured in OTEV. So Cliff is out in round 2. Christy goes out in round 3, I believe. And so now the story is not over yet either, because Kat has been in the competition using the tried and true strategy of collecting a bunch of pieces and gathering them all together so that she has a stack of them that she can run to when she knows which one she needs, so she can just run straight to that pile, grab it, and then go back. Now, plenty of people who have won this competition have used this strategy. It's one of the things where if you did get coached before you went into the show about strategies for winning competitions, this would definitely be a strategy that you would want to tell somebody about in the game. It's like, oh, here's a great strategy for winning OTEV. However, she missed a vital aspect of this strategy, which is that you need to hide your stockpile so that other people don't see you going to it and see that you have one. Because what happened here is that when it came down to Tommy, Nick, and Kat, Tommy saw that she had a stockpile of pieces and used her own stockpile to beat her in that round, and she was eliminated.
To be fair, Nick didn't see that she was doing this until Tommy pointed it out. But yeah, I've thought about this a lot when it comes to OTEV, of what the best strategy is. And maybe the best strategy is not the stockpiling. Maybe it's just watching to see if other people stockpile.
Yeah. She did all the work to put all these pieces together, and then Tommy just used it for his own benefit.
Yeah.
That's such a Tommy move.
Well, Tommy has decided now's the time to stop throwing competitions. So, But he at least he does it. And even it's a bonus for Tommy too, because he can be like, "Oh yeah, I wasn't even that smart. I just saw what she was doing. I didn't come up with that plan."
It's so reminiscent of like Rockstar last year and now Kat this year. Like, man, you got to be careful with the, and it's for me, it's such an encapsulation of who Kat is as a player, where like she has the right strategy, she has the advantage to win, but then there's just something missing, and she makes some blunder, like volunteering for the block or not hiding her pile well enough, like, and it ends up backfiring on her. So Kat is eliminated in the fourth round there, and it comes down to Nick versus Tommy, and Tommy is going to end up beating Nick for the veto. Tommy has won the power of veto.
Woo! I'm so proud of him.
Yes, the winner of OTEV.
Yeah, a classic. There's a lot of talk all night about how classic of a competition this was, and it's so great. And thanks, America, for putting Christy up there, because she takes it as a compliment, because now she got to play OTEV, which was one of her dreams. So thanks, America. And it's so sad, because it would have been so poetic for Christy to have gone home on Tommy's HOH. But we don't deserve nice things. So
Mary, twists can't work. They can't work in the favor of what the audience wants. That's just not how twists are supposed to work, Mary. I think it's clear at this point that twists are meant to only infuriate every portion of the audience.
Yeah. I mean, look, I'm very much a results-oriented person. So if anyone else had won this, I would still be happy with the twist. No, I don't pretend to be non-biased when it comes with this. So it's fine.
I've talked about the technicalities, the actual logistics of why their twists, the ones that they implement, are often bad for the game and the way that they mess with things and all of that. But we can also take the Christie view of things, that the Big Brother gods are punishing us for meddling with the forces of nature in the Big Brother game and trying to change it up, trying to implement man-made strategies on the divine game of Big Brother from the Big Brother gods, and they're angry with us, and we will be punished every time we try to manipulate the forces of nature, of Big Brother nature.
One day there will be a twist that we all love, and Taran will be sitting in the corner eating his yogurt. In shame.
Well, that day may come in like 20 years or something, because it hasn't come in a while.
Yeah. So the other thing about Kat doing well in this competition, or at least having a strategy, is that this is just another chick in her column of why she should go. And another argument for, she was probably throwing competitions earlier on, but she's probably better at them than we think. You know, she's already won the one veto, and now having this and showing that she's had a strategy, and she talks a bit about, every time I had watched this in the past, I knew that was the way you were supposed to go about it. So she's really showing all her cards here.
Mm-hmm. So Tommy has the veto. He is going to take Christy off the block. Obviously, that's going to leave Cliff and Nicole Cliff and Kat on the block.
Yeah, don't scare me like that.
Holly and Jackson have a conversation after Tommy wins, and they have they have this conversation like 3 separate times throughout the day. Basically, what's happened here is that because Tommy won and they aren't able to take Christy out, they're kind of resigning themselves to, we have to work with Tommy and Christy, don't we? But the way that's expressed is, the thought of working with Christy makes me sick. Oh my God, I don't want to do it. We don't have to. We can't work with Christy. We can't, but we might have to.
I think he said, I'd rather drag my face through gravel than work with Christy.
Yep.
Something like that.
Something like that.
Yeah.
Because they assume that Cliff is going, and that that there's a workable relationship there. Jackson, he even floats the idea like, I don't want to work with Cliff with Christy. Maybe we can keep Cliff. Maybe we can keep Cliff around, see where that takes us. But Holly, of course, says no, we can't do that. I think I can trust Cliff. but I know I can trust Kat. And I was like, wait a minute, I've heard this before. This is exactly what happened with Sam and Kat.
Yeah. Yeah. And the thing that they're not really accounting for is the fact that the Tommy, Sis, and Christy group are not 100% sold on getting Cliff out. So
Yes,
they're looking at this as a choice A, we work with Tommy and Christy and Sis and keep Kat, or choice B, we go against Tommy and Christy and Sis and keep Cliff. And that's not really the two options that are on the table.
Exactly. So I honestly, I feel like part of them, especially Jackson, will be relieved when they find out that Tommy wants Kat gone, because then, oh, thank God we don't have to work with them. Woo! Yes.
Yeah, there may be an element of that, and throughout the evening, Holly really is the one who's pushing more to work with them, and Jackson does seem to be putting up more of a fight. He says over and over, I can't get along with anything Christy stands for. Just don't agree with that. Don't agree with anything she stands for. Can't help but notice that they're really not saying that they can't agree with anything Tommy stands for. So Christy is taking 100% of the heat.
Oh yeah. Yeah, Christy. If Christy leaves, Jackson is 100% willing to work with Tommy and Sis. So,
and then from the other point of view, Tommy and Christy and Sis think that the reason that Jackson and Holly wouldn't want to work with them is because they have Nick currently, and they think, well, if we convince them that Nick is not with us, they'll be more willing to work. No, it's Christy. Get Christy out of the picture, and then they'll work with you perfectly. They'll be happy with that.
Tommy definitely recognizes that Christy is an issue too. They're gonna have a conversation with her later in the night. That's pretty funny. But they also are concerned about Nick's involvement in the fact that Jackson and Holly are probably worried that they're replacing them with Nick, which is kind of true. So that's where Jackson and Holly are, kind of like resigning themselves to, we probably have to work with Tommy and Christy, as long as things continue to play out the way that they think they're playing out, which is that Cliff is the target. Obviously, this will probably be upended when they realize that Kat is the target. And if Kat goes home, then they will probably be very opposed to Tommy and Christy. So we don't have to worry too much about that as long as things don't change. Because Tommy does confirm to Nick after the veto that he still does want Kat gone. Kat is the person he wants out. She's the most dangerous. She's the most connected. And so that's what Tommy wants to do. Nick is on board with that. Tommy says, I gave my word that I would not create any alliances this week. We're not creating any alliances.
Yeah.
And this seemed very silly to me when he said it to Nick, but he later explained it to Christy and Sis. I actually am kind of on board with what he's saying. He feels that if he creates an alliance, that it will put a target on his back with Christy, like they will be the head of that alliance. And as things stand, if he gets Kat out, then there are people that they can silently pull in, and people will still be fighting amongst themselves, hopefully. So I kind of get where he's coming from with this, but it sounds very silly.
Yeah, it was mostly the way he was saying it to Nick that sounded silly, because it would be at any point when Nick would try to talk about the future, talk about next week, step 2, whatever, and then that's when Tommy would cut in and say, "Oh, well, we're not creating an alliance, we're not creating a group," and Nick's like, "No, I just mean, like, what do we do after we put up someone from the veto or whatever?" So, yeah, it came across a little weird there, but I agree with your point. I think as long as you don't create a big alliance, use the HOH to create more bonds with people on an individual level, and that's really the way to go, because you also don't want people to only be in alliance with you because you're HOH.
Yes, and also I think this has a little bit to do with Nick as well, where like he doesn't want Nick to be officially in an alliance because Nick runs his mouth, but he also can't have an official alliance without Nick, because then Nick will feel betrayed. So he has to keep Nick in this sort of no man's land of like, you're working with me, but there's nothing that you can really blab about, hopefully. So
how long until they decide to name a non-official alliance? It's not an official alliance, but we probably should have a name to make it feel like we stick together, right? Yeah. So Tommy also gives, I think, 3 good reasons or understandable reasons of why he wants Kat out. And he repeats these 3 reasons several times throughout the night. Number 1, she's a good competitor and Cliff is hurt. Number 2, Kat's connected with everyone. like you mentioned earlier. And number 3 is still going on with that. Jess got a guy out, and the guy-girl balance is going to be really off if we send Cliff home, because it'll be, what, 3 to 6 then?
Yes.
I think, yeah. So that's something that he continues to say to a lot of people all night, and that he wants this, even if he likes Jess and may or may not buy that whole speech Jess was giving about not just being for the girls and whatever, that there's still that factor, which is, whether or not that's true, that he cares about it, it's something that he's saying to everyone.
Yes. So Cliff is going to talk with Holly, Nicole, and Jess. Cliff is kind of assuming that he's the target here. That's part of why he was pumping himself up earlier in the day. Tommy did tell him that he wasn't the target, but it's one of those things where he told him that, like, the day of nominations, or maybe it was even the night before nominations, and then never circled back to him to, like, reassure him in any way. So Cliff's kind of feeling like, I'm probably the target here. And so Cliff is like, I'm going to talk to Tommy at some point. We'll see. We'll confirm that I'm the target. His idea is like, if I am the target, then I'll throw a Hail Mary. I'll try to get him to not use the veto on Christy somehow. And I was just like, no, don't do that, Cliff. That would be bad if you did that. You don't want to be convincing Tommy that he doesn't want to keep you anymore.
Yeah, and luckily when he does bring this up, people tell him, yeah, maybe you shouldn't.
Yeah.
Don't bring that up to Tommy. I think Jess and Nicole are like, no. let's not push anything anti-Christy at the moment.
Mm-hmm. We have another conversation about with Jackson and Holly about we don't have to work with Christy. Like, it should be noted, I think, because it's been a trend now. You've probably recognized that Jackson and Holly are really only talking to themselves most of the time. They did talk with Sis a little bit earlier. They do occasionally talk with, Cliff and Nicole and them, but they're mostly hanging out together or with Kat. So that's something to pay attention to. They recognize that they're doing it on purpose, or at least Holly is, because she doesn't want to cast her lot in with a particular group yet. She's still trying to decide where to go, and she feels that because again, she thinks that Cliff is leaving, which means that Kat is staying, which means that she can just kind of sit back and let these other people fight it out, which would be great for her if Kat was staying. She doesn't realize that Kat is not staying, and at that point she might start to be a more active player. But right now they're playing a pretty passive game, and if they start to be more active, we may see things change this week. We'll have to wait and see about that. Holly they have a lot of trash talking Christy sessions. This one was one of my favorites. Holly talks about how during the veto, when Cliff got hurt, her and Nicole were crying. Crying because he got hurt, and it was sad. And so then she looked over and she saw that Christy was trying really hard to cry, but couldn't. So she says, and that later Christy was like, "Oh yeah, it was really emotional," and she was like, "No, you weren't emotional. You didn't cry." She cries all the time for herself. She never cries for other people. That's who Christy is, she says.
Yeah. Christy has a lot of not great looks. I'm curious to see if they include any of that sort of thing on the episode. They probably won't, but Christy also says throughout the day that she gave a prayer for Tommy to win this veto, and because it was an unselfish prayer, that's why it came true. And Tommy's like, "Oh, well, I mean, yeah, like I tried hard to win, and I put some effort in there and stuff." And she's like, "Yeah, no, it was my unselfish prayer."
She really wanted somebody else to have that veto. Not her.
No, of course not. Why would she want it?
Oh boy.
Yep. Yeah. So with Holly and Jackson, I'm getting. It's very interesting because a few weeks ago, and even throughout this voting, when Jackson had a lot of votes against him for America, he's almost put himself into an underdog position in a way. And him and Holly, I do think, with the distaste for Christy and Nick, have become a little bit more rootable almost because they've separated themselves some. I'm getting like sort of Jess and Cody vibes, but it's not because people are going after them. It's because they're just isolating themselves and they spend a lot of time laying together on the couch or in the bed talking. And it's like I'm not rooting for them because of that, but it is when you have a whole group of people just being terrible in one room and then you have them talking in the other room and being self-deprecating, it is a very different vibe than it was a few weeks ago.
They're winning people. This is what I was talking about it. Last week, a couple weeks ago. Like give Jackson time. He's gonna beast mode cowboy. He's gonna win some people over. I'm telling you.
Yeah.
As long as they don't go back to Christy. If Kat somehow stays and they go back to working with Tommy and Christy, then they'll be right back on the bottom.
Sure,
of the popularity.
Yeah, it's entirely dependent upon this right now, but but we'll see where that goes. There's a few other people talking. There's a great segment with Jess not understanding what Joker's updates is, and she's just so confused. Yeah, but I don't understand. How can they update? How do they know what's going on? Christy's like, well, because they're watching the feeds.
Yeah, Christy now the
expert.
expert.
You think the feeds are live now? Yeah. Christy is the expert now, even though earlier in the day, her and Sis were getting educated on who Rockstar was, who Shannon Elizabeth was, what BB Over the Top is. So, lots of education going on today. Yeah.
All right. So, Kat is going to talk with Nick. And Nick is going to just have a conversation where he's very vague with her.
Oh, gosh.
And, being his sort of new Nick self of like Mark when he was like really high on himself in Big Brother Canada 7, like just all of a sudden like, oh yeah, like I'm Nick. And so he's going to kind of be like, yeah, I don't know what's going on. You never know. And Kat's starting to get concerned because he's being very vague, and she's like, I'm not the target, right? And Nick's like, I don't know, I'm not the one to ask. Maybe you should ask Tommy. I don't know. She's like, what do you mean? This sets Kat off. She's very concerned after this conversation because Nick is being very vague. So she's gonna go and talk to Tommy. And she asks Tommy who his target is, and Tommy's, I don't have a target. I'm just gonna let the house decide, which is always a lie. I don't think that has ever been the truth in the history of Big Brother, and yet people say it all the time. Oh, I'm just gonna let the house decide. I don't care. I don't have a preference either way. I'm just going to have a very laissez-faire philosophy about my HOH reign. It's I am very, very just do whatever you want.
There are a few like tropes in Big Brother that I really, really hate and would just love to be smashed. That, the complaining about how hard HOH is because you love everyone and you don't want to put anyone on the block. Tommy
encapsulates all of them.
Oh, and it's never true. No one ever believes it. I'm not even 100% sure why Kat cares so much about figuring out if she's the target or not. Because at this point, it doesn't matter if you were or are the original target or are Tommy's target. Just go campaign to individual people. That's what you need to do. Figure out what they are. If you suspect that Tommy maybe doesn't want to keep you, then maybe skip over Christy or start thinking of some reasons why she should stay. That's the one thing that Kat doesn't do in any of these campaign sessions. When she talks to Nick, when she talks to Tommy, when she talks to Nicole, she just asks them where they're at and what they want to do, but she doesn't give them any good reasons really of here's why you should keep me. Here are some reasons why I need to be here and why I'm better for your game over Cliff. Here are some deals we should make. Here are some promises I can do. She doesn't really do any of that. She kind of walks in a room and sits down next to them and says, oh, so are you coming after me? Can you just tell me if I'm going to be the one going home? What are you thinking? Oh, this is so hard. We love everyone. We don't want to do this. It's like, if you're not getting anything, then start actually being proactive here.
Yeah, I mean, it's classic sort of like it's kind of like do you hate me? Do you hate me? I feel like maybe you hate me. Like, if the answer is yes, then you're already screwed. Like, you should be working to get them to not hate. You should be, if you feel like you might be the target, you should be working to make yourself not the target. You shouldn't just be asking like, am I the target? She kind of does have a defeatist attitude throughout. She had one the second Tommy won the HOH. She's kind of continued it for the rest of the week at various points. She's talked to Holly about like, I don't even want to go to jury. Can I just not have to go to jury and go straight home? Like, this sucks, you know, like, she's like in that position of like, I think if she finds out she's the target, she's going to like break down. I think she'll fight back eventually, but she's just in an awkward spot here, and she's not doing a great job.
And if some of it is because she really did have a big part in injuring Cliff and feels bad about that and doesn't want to like directly campaign against him, that's one thing. But yeah, like you've said, she's been saying this for a few days now, and it's not, I don't like to see people give up, and this is not the fun, fiery cat that Brent loves.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, it's sad to see. I just want more from all of these people.
Yeah, she really needs to be focusing on Nicole, but she instead threw Nicole under the bus and then did again today. So,
and this was one of the most, that conversation between Kat and Nicole was one of the hardest conversations to watch just because it went nowhere. There was probably way more silence than there was talking. They're just kind of both staring into space, and this is one reason why, you know, there's a good chance Nicole is going to be the swing vote. And just the nothing she was giving to Kat is really making me think that she's gonna stick with Cliff.
Mm-hmm. So Kat's gonna talk with Tommy. He says, I have no target. Kat continues to explain why she didn't vote Jackson out last week. Tommy's not buying any of it. Like, she needs a different story to tell. Like, she needs to admit something, like, because Tommy, he knows that she's with Holly and Jackson, and he's not going to believe her when she, like, that lie worked before and then it got exposed when she didn't vote out Jack. She needs to let it go. She needs to admit the lie and move forward with something else, because Tommy is never going to buy this at this point. Tommy says he feels like he's a target of Kat's, and Kat's like, no, I wouldn't target you. He says that he feels like she's in good with everyone. She says, that's not really true. I don't really have like a working relationship with everyone. We know that Tommy doesn't believe that. So ultimately, not a great conversation, but at the very least, she did manage to say that she's not targeting Tommy, which, well, at least she said it, right? Yeah, and that's how Tommy feels.
And that's one of the biggest detriments to Cliff, is that Cliff has made it fairly well known that he in the past would target Tommy. What is that? Comet target?
Tarney.
I don't know. Yeah, and that's something that is brought up a couple times, and that's part of the reason why Holly and Jackson think that Tommy wouldn't want to keep Cliff, is because he's had that in the past. Cliff is still being helped, though, a little bit by the promise that he kept to Christy a while back, and they think that he is honest and a straight shooter there. So
yeah,
good on Cliff for that. But yeah, he's I just want both people on the block. I mean, it's early, we got time, but I want both of them to do more direct campaigning about pros of why they should stay.
Yes. So Cliff comes upstairs to talk to Tommy. Well, at the tail end of his conversation with Kat, Tommy's like, do you want to talk? Like, we can talk right now. Cliff is like, we can talk tomorrow. So we're going to get a conversation between Cliff and Tommy today on the feeds. We know that Cliff initially was planning on just seeing if he was the target, and if he wasn't the target, or if he was the target, he was going to try the Hail Mary of getting Christy to stay on the block. Later in the night, Nicole is going to come up with an alternative plan that we'll talk about. But for the most part, Tommy, after his conversation with Kat, he says, I still want Kat gone. But she did at least tell me she's not coming for me. I haven't heard that from Cliff yet. Nick is the one that sold Cliff out and said that Cliff is targeting him. So he just wants to get Cliff to promise that he's not going to come after him. And if that's the case, then that's all he needs from Cliff. All he needs from Cliff is for Cliff to say, "I'm not coming for you," and he's not going to change his mind. He's willing to change his mind if Cliff doesn't say that. Because at least Kat is willing to say it. But for the most part, he wants Kat gone. There's still 5 days. Things could change. He's willing to change his mind, but right now, it's still Kat.
Yeah.
Yes.
And, I mean, in the long run, this is probably best to keep the house split up unless Holly and Jackson somehow go back to Christy and Tommy if Kat goes.
It seems much less likely. If Kat stays, I think it's very likely they go back to Tommy and Christy. If Kat goes, though, I think that gives them the sort of excuse that they need to be like, no way can we go back there. Like,
and the numbers
fighting.
the numbers there are interesting because even if Tommy wants to keep Cliff, and even if those three are the ones who are, Christy and Sis are the ones who vote to keep Cliff, I don't think Cliff wants to work with them so much down the line. I think Cliff would still jump on board with a Holly Jackson plan to turn on Tommy and Christy. So it's interesting, again, with the people who want to keep people are not necessarily the ones who would want to work with them down the line.
Yes. So, Kat talks to Holly about her conversation with Tommy. She's still concerned that she might be the target. Holly doesn't really think so. Holly thinks that it's still probably Cliff, but she's maybe getting a little more concerned than she was before. Holly says that she does have information on Cliff, that Cliff was running information to her about Christy. And so she can throw Cliff under the bus if she needs to, but she doesn't want to. She doesn't feel like she needs to. So again, Holly has been kind of sitting back, not doing much. Once she realizes that Kat's in trouble, she's gonna get in the game and she's gonna start campaigning for Kat to stay. Now, whether that's effective will be another question. Sis is going to get more punishment added to her punishment. And
now, how much of a 100% chance was this because people were complaining that it wasn't a bad punishment?
It has to be because they would have told her initially.
Right. They all throughout the night. That's another pro in the Holly Jackson area is that they're just talking about how annoying it is that Sis complains about her costume when she doesn't even have like a punishment that goes along with it. So the answer to that is to have her lay some eggs.
Yes. So the punishment is that now at any time, if she hears the call or whatever it is, she will have to stop talking. She's not allowed to speak. She has to act like a chicken the whole time. And she has to go outside, go to her chicken coop, which is now outside. She just did this morning, so during the update. So we now have images of the chicken coop. I think it's just they took the competition thing for the eggs and they put it out into the backyard. And so she has to go inside of it, sit down in the nest and lay some eggs. Then she has to go back into the house and cook some eggs for the rest of the house guests, acting like a chicken the whole time.
I'm a fan. I mean, it's something, right?
Yes, I'm glad that they're adding more to the punishment, though I do feel like this is still less punishment and more cute segment on the show. But look, we'll take what we can get at this point.
I mean, at this point, they're pretty much all punishments are just a cute segment on the show. It's just how much are they disruptive toward the rest of the game. I mean, you have like looking at last year, this is closer to like Haley's punishment of having to read the Shakespeare or whatever it was, which in my opinion still I just think was a nice little entertainment thing for her to be able to do every once in a while. It's a lot like, when they have to learn a dance and perform a dance or whatever. That's not that bad. I think Tommy's is worse because it has more, I mean, not just on himself, but it also has more disruptiveness towards other people and more annoyance factor for other people. So this is like a bonus. If anything, people would probably be, oh, sis, look how cute. And then she makes us eggs.
Yeah, Tommy's punishment really like messed up the scale of like Tommy's helmet in particular really messed up the scale of like what these punishments are, I think. So Sis is going to talk about the field trip. She says that she refuses to believe that they were sent there because America hates them. It was not a hate thing. She refuses to believe that America hates her.
No, how could America hate me? I refuse to believe that I'm hated.
Way too hot to be hated. Come on.
I mean, even if you can tell yourself that Jack was supposed to have been there, or even Tommy, although I don't know how much, if she believes that she's not hated, I don't think she would believe that anyone could dislike Tommy either. So, I mean, at best, she would be 5th most hated. Also, I would just like to throw out there, I put all 80 of my votes on Sis, so I'm giving myself a pat on the back for at least this part of it, because I thought from the beginning, I am more annoyed with people who don't appear to be trying or wanting to play the game than people who are like playing the game badly or being mean. Like, fine, you know, if there's going to be terrible people in the house, they'll have their own comeuppance. But just people who are apathetic about being there is worse.
All right. So Tommy, Christy, and Sis are going to talk in the HOH room later in the night about how Kat is dangerous. Sis thinks that Kat is coming for her. I did mention earlier when Tommy was confirming to Nick that Kat is still the target after the veto. Sis said that she is leaning toward wanting Kat gone over Cliff. So Sis's anger toward Cliff is dissipating a little bit. She still hates him, but she does want Kat gone first. So Kat is the person who Sis wants gone, though she'd be fine either way. Sis thinks that Kat is coming for her. That's one of the reasons why. Christy does point out, like, Cliff is still dangerous. It's still dangerous to me to leave Cliff in the game. But Tommy rebuts that with the thing about Cliff is that you can make deals with him and you can trust his word. So if we make a deal with him to not come after me, which is it's come after me, it's not us, then we can trust that and we can feel good about it. Whereas you can't trust Kat's word, and they agree. That is the selling point here for Cliff. That shuts Christy down. So that's their stance right now. They're still firmly on board. Again, all Cliff needs to do is tell Tommy, I won't come for you. I give you my word, and Tommy will trust that because that's the reputation that Cliff has garnered in the house. Now, whether Cliff is willing to do that or not, we'll have to find out. I would assume he's willing to do it, but you never know. You never know. Tommy is also going to talk about Jackson. Christy and Sis are like, do you really think you can get Jackson's vote? And Tommy was like, I do. I think I can. And they're like, come on. Jackson's not going to vote against Kat. And Tommy's like, I think he might. Like, you think he's going to vote differently than Holly? No, I think Holly will jump on board too. They're like, Holly's not voting out Kat.
Yeah. I mean, I do think that there is a world where Jackson would vote out Kat, given the right circumstances. I think Holly would put a stop to that, and I don't think Holly's going to vote out Kat.
Yeah,
I just don't see that happening. And part of me wonders, you know, at what point does it become more of a detriment for Holly to be standing up for Kat than just to vote her out?
Yeah, I mean, they do say if they know the votes aren't there, maybe then they would vote Kat out. But They don't feel like they would do it voluntarily. So yeah, that's definitely something to pay attention to. Then we have what was, I thought, very funny. Tommy is going to be like, look, Christy, I know you hate Jackson. I know you're mad at him, but you need to try and make peace with him. It's not good for us that you two are fighting. And Christy is just like, no, that is not my responsibility. He's coming after me. That is not my fault. Like, what am I supposed to do? And this leads to like a half-hour long intervention that is hosted by Tommy and Sis talking to Christy about like, look, Christy, in the game of Big Brother, you need to make peace with people who maybe don't like you and are coming for you. And Christy's like, no, don't you understand that if somebody is telling other people that they're coming after me, and when I talk to them, they don't say they're coming after me, what else am I supposed to do? I'm not gonna be the one to do that. Like, whatever. You can come after me and I'm gonna come after you. That's how things go. And Tommy and Sis are just like, no, though, because so you should go and talk to them and work it out, like let's try and make something happen here. That's the game of Big Brother. And Christy's like, no, it's not my fault and I shouldn't have to do that. And Tommy's like, it kind of was your fault, though. I mean, you did run your mouth about Jackson and Holly. And she's like, okay, yes, I ran my mouth about Jackson, but I didn't say anything about Holly. What did I say about Holly? And Tommy's like, I mean, I definitely heard you say that you feel like she's becoming a shell of herself with Jackson. And she's like, oh, yeah, I did say that. Yeah. But how did she know? He's like, it gets around. And she's like, okay, yes, I'm running my mouth. I'm sorry. And Tommy and Christy are like, so look, this is a problem. You have a problem, Christy. And she's finally able to. I have a problem. I know I run my mouth. Okay, but I still don't feel like I have to talk to Jackson. And they're like, no, you should. And she's like, oh, fine. You guys are right. I'll try and make peace with people. It was hilarious.
Yeah, I mean, look, can't they just all get on the same page? They're all voted in by America for the field trip. So,
Yeah.
It's a little bit funny, actually, how much Jackson believes, like, oh, me and Christy and Sis, this was definitely a negative vote, whatever. But then he also believes that Christy's a horrible person and he doesn't stand for any of the things he stands for. It's like, well, but, I mean.
Yeah.
Maybe look at it from a different lens. Anyway.
So Jackson and Holly are going to talk one more time about we need to go work with Tommy and Chrissy, don't we? No, I don't want to. But we probably have to. We can play it up. We can be like, yeah, the six are back together. Okay. Well, yeah, we'll have to do that. That's kind of where they're at the end of the day. Jess, Kat, and Nicole are going to have a conversation. Nicole has been thinking. She's been thinking. She kind of believes. She's kind of starting to believe that, she's hearing things from both sides. She tells them she's hearing that Holly wanted her out the week that Holly was HOH. And so she's a little bit concerned about that. Now, remember, she's telling Kat this with Jess. And so this made me wonder, like, if we remember back to Holly's HOH, Nicole has been doing all this investigating. I wonder if Tommy and Christy remember that Kat was the one pushing Nicole to go up hardest. Kat was the one that was she was doing it in front of Tommy and Christy, that Nicole was untrustworthy and that Nicole should go on the block. And that was before she volunteered for the block herself.
Right, yeah. Because she pushed really hard for two people to get up on the block that week, Nicole and herself. Yes.
And so Kat, in response to Nicole saying that she's hearing that Holly wanted her on the block, Kat takes this opportunity to be like, oh, well, here's what I did. I offered to go on the block myself to prevent you from going up. It was to keep you safe, Nicole. Which I think, like, she thought was a good idea, but I'm pretty sure all it did was confirm to Nicole, oh my God, Tommy and Christy are telling the truth. Holly was going to put me up. If Kat was volunteering to make me not go up, then that means that I was an option to go up, and that I was that was true. And so that's concerning. That's concerning. Jess is gonna take some time. This is all around a bad conversation for Kat. Jess is then going to, especially after her long conversation with Tommy, Jess not super happy with Kat. Jess is gonna just kind of like be like, hey Kat, you did bad. You were bad. You ran to Tommy and you sold Nicole out. That's not a good thing to do. You shouldn't have done that, Kat. This is when Kat ran to Tommy about, like, oh, Nick told Nicole and Nicole told me that you're going to put up me and Cliff. And she's like, you shouldn't have done that. And Kat's like, no. What? I didn't do anything wrong. It's just like, no, that is wrong. You sold Nicole out. You did something bad to Nicole. If you tell Tommy that Nicole told you information, now Tommy knows that information. You need to hold that information in, okay? Like when Jess is scolding you and telling you how to play the game, like something has gone really wrong. And Kat has to essentially be like, oh yeah, you know, I didn't realize. I didn't think of it that way. I'm sorry. Oof. This is rough.
Yeah. There's that, and there's also just the part of, you know, you shouldn't be, if it's a, I can give you this information and I will stay off the block, that's one thing.
Mhm.
But if you're probably going to go up, you need Nicole's vote. So don't give her any reason why she would want you out. And selling her out is a really big reason for wanting you to out so that you don't do it in the future.
It was, I mean, I cannot understate what a massive, unnecessary blunder it was for Kat to do that after Tommy won HOH. There was no purpose to it whatsoever. It comes back to what we were talking about earlier when she's trying to figure out if she's the target. She was trying to figure out if she was going to go on the block. And for some reason, she just needed that information. It's not like she could have done anything about it if it was true. And if it wasn't true, then she was unnecessarily throwing people under the bus. And she made a point to say Nicole told her, not only to Christy, but even to Tommy, when she had already expressed that she found out the information that it came from Nick. She made a point of saying Nicole was the middleman in that thing. She made a point to point out Nicole's name, and that got her in trouble with Nicole. And up until that point, Nicole was feeling pretty good about Kat. Like, I think that she would be much more likely to keep Kat if that hadn't happened. And you know, she still might. But that's a big hurdle to jump, and we're going to see more of that later in the night. So Jess scolds Kat about that. Nicole is worried that the six are coming back together, that Jackson and Holly are going to get back together with Tommy and Christy, and that Nick is going to be the sixth to replace Jack. So what she wants to do is, especially after hearing all this stuff about Holly and the fact that Kat basically just confirmed it, she really wants to get Holly on the block. She thinks she has a plan that, you know, Tommy is claiming that his target was going to be Jackson, but the field trip messed up his plans and he had to change them. So the reason he wouldn't have put up Holly in the first place was because if Jackson won the veto, he would be able to take Holly down. But now the veto has been won. What Nicole wants to propose here is, if we go to if we go to Cliff and we tell Cliff, you should make a deal with Tommy. Cliff can approach Tommy with a deal. People trust Cliff because they trust his word. If Cliff promises to not vote out Christy and to vote out Holly, then we can maybe get Tommy to use the veto on Cliff and get Holly put up in Cliff's place, and then we can all vote out Holly. That's how we save Cliff's Angels, our alliance, the one that we're working together with. What do you guys think? We think we can make this work? She says, sorry, Kat, but it would have to be Cliff. He's more trustworthy. Kat does not like the idea, obviously, because that would put Holly in a lot of danger. Kat is poo-pooing the plan. Nah, I don't think this is going to work. I don't like this one. I don't think we should do this. And so you know, Jess is like, you know, I think this can, like, Jess likes it. Jess says, to me, Christy is a straight shooter. She just says things that are a little mean sometimes. So, like, I'm on board with this. Like, we can work with Christy. We can make something happen here. The conversation gets interrupted by Nick, but that's the plan that Nicole has, and Kat expressed a lot of doubt in the plan.
So, the thing that Kat needs to realize is, if this is actually a Hail Mary for her, so she's probably going home, and this could be a really good way to, well, I'm not going to say a really good way because it's a really long shot, but it is an option on the table for that. I think there's a few, I don't know if this is the best thing for Nicole, though. I mean, first off, I don't know why Nicole is trying to work with Kat in general. I just think that
it's her only alliance. Cliff's Angels.
Get a new alliance.
She needs a new one. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, look, I understand how hard it is that she just wants an alliance, and something else that's really been bothering me is just the number of people going up to Nicole and trying to convince Nicole to do what they want because they saved her. That's a past thing. That's not a present thing. that no one is incentivizing Nicole for any kind of present or future reasons to get her on their side, and that must be really frustrating. So yeah, having the only real named alliance you were in that's well, besides the Black Widows,
And the
that
Fellowship of the
yeah,
Zing.
well, that alliance. It's just hilarious. He wasn't even in the game. Look at them, how cute that was that they thought they had an alliance. No, but yeah, I mean, Nicole has really, really had a hard time with this, and I don't have a really great answer of like which group of people she could work with. Um, Unfortunately, in order to really get Jess 100% on Nicole's side anyway, I do think Jess is an advocate for Nicole, but I think Jess has other people that she'd rather work with. You'd almost need to get rid of like both Holly and Christy, or Christy and Kat, or some combination of that to get Jess fully on your side. So I don't know what the best move is for Nicole. I've been trying to think about this.
I mean, I think, I mean, this plan to get Holly out would be good for Nicole if it actually worked. But
if it worked,
but obviously it's not going to.
Well, and the other thing is, I mean, in the event that Holly is somehow on the block, and Christy is then still there, I mean, I think we're looking at then the end of the week where people are trying to actually flip the vote back onto Christy. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, either way, Christy goes, Holly goes, Kat goes. All of those are great for Nicole. So I think
it's great. It's great for Nicole right now, but I'm not sure which one of those is the best option for her to actually get some people working with her long term.
Well, I mean, Holly or Kat leaving is very good for Nicole because her biggest problem is the pre-existing relationship between Holly and Kat getting in the way of her making it to the end. So if one of them leaves, I think she's in a much better position moving forward. So I think that if she got Holly on the block and Holly went home, that would be great for Nicole. If she got Holly on the block and Kat went home, that would be great for Nicole. If she got Holly on the block and Christy went home, it would not be terrible for Nicole because Christy's now gone and there's major bad blood between Nick, Tommy, and Sis, and Christy, and Kat, Holly, and Jackson, and she gets to sit back. She still has Cliff. She still has Jess to some extent. Jess now turning away from Kat a little bit is very good for Nicole. So there are some good things, I think, no matter what happens there. The worst case scenario for Nicole easily is if Cliff leaves, because then she loses basically one of the only people that's willing to stick with her till the end, and she is really stuck with the pre-existing relationship of Holly, Kat, Jackson, and she's got like Nick left, but Nick would be pissed at her if Cliff went because she would be voting Cliff out. So she loses everyone and she gains a pre-existing trio relationship that's showmancy, and it would be very bad.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, the thing I'm almost most worried about is this somehow getting to Tommy or Jackson, that this is all Nicole's idea anyway, before Cliff has a chance to do anything.
Yes. So that's the plan. Cliff and Nicole are going to talk about the plan. She explains it to Cliff. She tells him the plan is to get Holly on the block. You should go to Tommy and propose a deal to him. Cliff says he's down. He's down for the plan. He'll talk. He's talking to Tommy tomorrow. He'll pitch that plan. That's a better plan for him to pitch than, hey, Tommy, just leave Christy on the block and we'll take her out.
Yeah.
But it still might concern Tommy. So thinking about this, if Cliff proposes this plan to Tommy, there are a couple ways this can go. Tommy either is sketched out by it because, Kat's just promising that she's not coming for him. That's nice sounding. He can't trust her, but at least it's something. If Cliff says, oh, leave Christy on the block, I'll promise not to vote her out, and then we'll put up Holly, Tommy might take that to mean I'm still trying to target Christy. However, Cliff's reputation for honesty might save him here, and Tommy might genuinely believe that Cliff is willing to go along with the plan and vote Holly out, which might actually be better for Cliff because Tommy might now feel like, okay, perfect. Cliff is anti-Holly. So if I leave Cliff in the game and I take Kat out, now Cliff is after Holly. If I can get Cliff to promise, even if I don't go along with this plan, that he won't come after me, then he's not coming after me. He's coming after Holly instead. And so, it could work out in his favor, although this is definitely going to get back to Holly at some point. And so ultimately, it would be best if he did not pitch it at all. But we'll have to wait and see what happens there. Finally, At the end of the night, Nicole is going to talk to the cameras. She is talking about how she doesn't know if she can trust Nick. She's still kind of torn on that whole situation. She feels like sometimes he's blowing smoke, and she doesn't like it. She apologizes to America for being unable to win anything. She says she's an advocate for the underdog. She wants the underdogs to do well. She doesn't want Kat or Cliff to go home if she can help it. But she is concerned about the fact that Kat has reported back to Tommy. That is concerning to her. And she also seems to be protecting Holly a lot. She noticed that Kat was not on board with the Target Holly plan, and that's telling to Nicole. So she is starting to be a little concerned here about Kat. She wonders if she really screwed up by letting Kat in on the plan to put Holly on the block, because now if Kat runs to Holly and lets Holly know, then Nicole will be in trouble with Holly, and that would be very bad. So Kat,
which is my biggest fear here.
Yeah, Kat not doing a great job of securing Nicole's vote at this point.
Yeah, I think that if this conversation had happened after Kat had a better sense that she was in danger, that would probably be beneficial. Or if this conversation had preferably taken place between Cliff and Jess and Nicole instead of Kat.
Yeah.
That would have been the best.
So a lot to get through here. Thank you for bearing with us this morning. There's a lot to continue to go throughout the week. I think that obviously Tommy winning the veto, keeping Christy safe, was an outcome that a lot of people were not pleased with, but it has led to a week that is very tight with these votes. And I really feel like it could go either way. Tommy could change his mind. Nicole could end up siding with Kat. It's a very tight vote, so we'll have to wait and see about where this ends up. It could be very messy, yes. So we'll have to see what happens with the Cliff and Tommy conversation. I think that's going to be very, very important how that goes. So be aware of it for today, and I will be back tomorrow morning at 11 a.m. Eastern to update you on what happens today on the Big Brother 21 live feeds. Was there anything else that you wanted to bring up, Mary?
Nick has been disturbing me. I don't know how I didn't register this, but it is almost impossible to take any kind of notes on him without just major censorship. He just speaks, I don't know,
Sketchiest man in existence.
Yeah, it's really hard to listen to him. Yeah, Holly and Jackson also. If anyone wants, there's a really uncomfortable conversation that happens throughout the evening with a big group of people that's kind of disturbing and
about showers.
About resetting.
Lonely showers.
So yeah, solo resets, and then they decide to ask Cliff his thoughts on that, and
don't do that to Cliff.
It's just weird. I mean, Cliff handles it really well, but it's really awkward. So, so that's great.
Yeah, anyway. Thanks for bringing it up.
Yeah, well, I'm here for the realism. Got to show all the gritty sides of the Big Brother house.
Yeah, Rob wants to hear about all this stuff. Rob's into it,
sure.
So it's good. It's good that we have somebody willing to talk about the down and dirty.
Right. Yeah. Nope. That's it. That's all I had.
All right. Thank you so much for joining us today. We will be live tonight after the Sunday night episode of Big Brother 21 with Rachel Swindler. I'll be on that one. And then again tomorrow, 11 a.m. Eastern, to update you on what's happening today on the Big Brother live feeds. And then tomorrow night, we'll have the roundtable. So be prepared to fill out the survey tomorrow. Should be a lot of fun there. Lots of potential outcomes this week, so it should be very exciting. You can find me on Twitch, twitch.tv/Taran Armstrong. We have a lot of fun there. We went live after Tommy won the veto, and we consoled one another. It was good. And you can find me on Twitter at Armstrong Taran. Mary, where can people find you?
You can find me everywhere at Frail Mary, not Hail Mary, but Frail Mary.
Yeah.
If you would like to.
There you go. All right. Thank you so much once again for joining us. I'll see you next time.
Bye.